if I could just build on that too, because I think it's really interesting going back to why sales is challenging. And we talked about deals are getting longer and there's some issues there. It really is harder. I mean, we know there are more people involved, but they're also transient buyers. It's one of the things we're studying.
Yeah.
Stakeholders coming in and out that, all of a sudden they show up and we don't know. And also this idea of resetting, like we get to the finish line, it's like, oh, we're going to reevaluate this, right? So we take a step back. And those are areas where we have to be adaptable, right? Our sellers have to be able to understand those signals and respond to them. And we'll talk about how coaching comes into play there. But I think it's a super important point that the sellers of today need to be able to read what's going on and translate their solution right into what the customer actually wants at the time, not a preformed package, right, that they're going to market with, every time. So anyway, I think that's a really important insight.
Yeah, that's great, right? And I'm gonna frame some of the insight side up because I think you can measure this, and I think the as leaders, as sales leaders, revenue leaders who are hopefully on this or listening to this in the future, I think there's been this big shift, and our marketing team who helped put this together, like reference, like people who, if you follow TikTok, or maybe if you're a Reels person like myself, there's all of these trends on what's in, what's out, and I think we've seen this on even how people are measuring or creating, the right KPIs to be tracking in their organization, at what level those KPIs sit. I'd say for, like I said, probably more like 4 to 6 quarters on at least LinkedIn, you're seeing this constant stream of content about, the end of predictable revenue. The predictable revenue Aaron Ross book of like, it's all going to be this, fixed process of you make 100 calls, you set X number of meetings, you create this many opportunities. And that's kind of the old way of, you make this many dials, you get this many meetings, et cetera. And I think now we're moving into this qualitative or quality over just the quantity side. And we've got some suggestions here. And Ray, I'm going to kick it to you to kind of talk through, what have you seen coming in as far as what people need to be measuring, as well as what can they glean from measuring that data?
Yeah, and I think starting with, I'll challenge a little bit. I don't think anything on the left-hand side is out, right? I mean, I won't tell a revenue
True.
leader, hey, you shouldn't track, the number of meetings you're having, but it's not enough, right? What we need to do is we need to be looking at the behaviors. And we even heard that, early on as a comment, like my reps don't want to pick up the phone. And,
Mhm.
when we're thinking about, well, why is that? What's behind that? I think that was Angela's comment. And so we need to be thinking about the behaviors that lead to, do they have the skills? Do they have the motivation? And what's happening on the right-hand side that the frontline manager can coach to? So are they inspecting it? Do they have the data they need to bring those insights to the conversation? So it's not just a judgment saying, hey, you're not doing very well, but saying, well, let's look at the last month. Let's aggregate and analyze this information. Now let's have a coaching conversation about your call reluctance, right? You're not picking up the phone
Yeah.
because you're not very good at it. And I wouldn't say it that way, right? But there's a reluctance because they don't have the skills that they need to be proficient. Let's practice that. That's a coachable skill. And then now maybe we have an afternoon where we hammer the phones together and we'll go, back to the old fashioned call center focus. Anyway, so I think there's a lot we can do to start measuring and looking at those behaviors that are the leading indicators of whether they're getting the outcomes we're looking for.